Love is not what you think it is. It is not freedom. It is not choice. It's biology, dressed in poetry, and it is using you. You think you chose her. You think you saw him and your heart decided. No. Nature chose, evolution decided, and your mind just dressed it up with flowers and fantasy. Desire is not affection, it's compulsion. Your instincts are older than your dreams. You chase love thinking it'll save you. But it was never designed to fulfill you. It was designed to reproduce you. You say soulmate. Schopenhauer said species continuation. You say butterflies. He said blind compulsion for genetic fit. You think it's about forever, but love only lasts as long as nature needs it to. After that, you're on your own, with someone you barely chose, with a reality you never questioned. True love, if it existed, it wouldn't break down after the dopamine fades. It wouldn't vanish when biology gets bored, but it does, again and again. That's not failure, that's design. You don't want love, you want someone to end your war with yourself, but no one's coming to rescue you from your emptiness. That's your job. You weren't born to chase love. You were born to conquer yourself. Love makes slaves of strong men. It makes queens out of illusions, and in the end, it takes more than it gives. The moment you master your emotions is the moment love loses its chains. You still feel. But you don't fall. You observe, but you don't obsess. This is not about being heartless. It's about being honest, because freedom starts when the lie dies. The lie is that love is salvation. The truth is that purpose is. You build legacy, not longing. You build power, not dependency. You build you. So the next time you ache for someone, ask yourself, is this real, or am I being used by instincts I never agreed to? You are not a slave to love. You are the architect of meaning. And true power is loving without needing. Caring without craving, choosing not chasing, because the hardest thing isn't walking away from love, it's walking toward truth, and once you do, you don't fall in love, you rise above it. Love doesn't ask permission, it hijacks your logic, it wears the mask of choice, but it's a command from nature. You don't fall in love because someone's good for your soul. You fall in love because your biology screams they're good for your bloodline. Not your dreams, not your peace, not your future. Just your genes. You feel drawn to someone, you think it's destiny. It's not, it's a program. An unconscious selection based on things you don't see: symmetry, scent, reproductive signals. You're not choosing, you're reacting. It's not love, it's a chemical hostage situation. Dopamine, oxytocin, testosterone. All these flood your system to make you addicted to a person you barely know. The heart races, the hands sweat, the mind can't shut up. That's not romance, that's neurochemical manipulation. It's not about building you, it's about using you. Nature doesn't care if you're happy. Nature cares if you reproduce. That's why the fantasy is always strongest in the beginning, because nature needs to blind you before it can bind you. Freedom is when you choose with full awareness. Love steals that awareness and sells you a dream built on instincts. You say, but I love them. Yes, but ask yourself, who decided that? Was it your conscious mind, or the thousands of years of evolutionary code running your impulses? You crave her because her body suggests fertility. You want him because his frame signals protection and strength. You obsess because nature tricks you into thinking this one will complete you. But love never completes, it only compels, and that compulsion is not freedom. It's biological slavery with a smile. If love were freedom, it wouldn't control your mind. If it were truth, it wouldn't need illusion. But we romanticize the trap. We turn survival into poetry, and we call it meant to be. Think about it. Why do the people you desire most often bring the most chaos? Because nature doesn't care if they're stable. Only if they're suitable for breeding. You're not picking a partner, you're being selected for your reproductive value. And the illusion is so deep, you'll swear it's fate. You'll ruin your peace. You'll abandon your goals. You'll tear apart your logic, just to follow a craving that never asked for your opinion, because that's what love does. It disguises programming as passion. The moment you start seeing this, everything changes. You stop believing in soulmates and start believing in patterns. You realize most relationships are just chemical contracts, short-term alliances built by long-term instincts, and once the chemical storm passes, you're left with the truth. Not the fantasy, not the butterflies, just two people often incompatible, now bonded by obligation, confusion, or fear of loneliness. True freedom begins when you stop mistaking instinct for insight. It begins when you see love not as salvation, but as strategy. Nature's strategy, not yours. You weren't born to be enslaved by impulses. You were born to understand them. Once you see that love is not designed for your happiness, but your utility, you stop chasing people and start mastering yourself. Because you finally see, nature may have written the code, but you hold the pen now. And if you don't take back control, you'll keep falling for what uses you instead of what builds you. And that's why love, in its raw form, is not freedom. It's not choice, it's nature's trick. You don't control your desire, it controls you. And the worst part, you think it's your idea. You walk into a room, lock eyes with a stranger. Your heart skips. Your mind starts writing stories. You call it chemistry, but it's programming. Desire doesn't ask what's good for you. It doesn't ask about values, peace, or future. It doesn't care about your purpose. It just wants what your body thinks will win the genetic lottery. You're not drawn to them by accident. You're pulled by design, a design you didn't create. Your pupils dilate at certain body types. Your voice changes around certain faces. You feel addicted to a vibe, a tone, a presence. You swear it's deep, but it's ancient wiring disguised as emotional gravity. That's not love. That's evolution hacking your system. You don't fall for the person, you fall for the potential your DNA believes they hold. And once that potential is sensed, you lose balance. You start craving instead of choosing. You start needing instead of thinking. Why do you chase someone who ignores you? Why do you obsess over the unavailable? Why do you feel alive in chaos? Because chaos creates uncertainty, and uncertainty increases dopamine, and dopamine tricks you into thinking this must be special. Your brain is not loyal to logic, it's loyal to reward. So if the chase feels like a gamble, your mind treats it like a jackpot. And that's the trap. Desire feeds on resistance. The more you're denied, the more you want. Not because they're right for you, but because the system mistakes tension for value. This isn't romance, this is addiction masked as affection. And once you're hooked, you'll justify anything, their absence. You call it mystery, their cruelty. You call it edge, their indifference. You call it self-confidence. But what's really happening? You're being played by your biology and sold lies by your imagination. You are not in love, you are under influence. And influence is not freedom, it's subtle slavery. That's why people stay in toxic love, not because it's deep, but because their nervous system mistakes pain for passion. It thinks the high must mean truth, but truth is calm. Truth doesn't spike your anxiety. Truth doesn't make you beg. If you really chose who you wanted, you'd choose someone who brings peace, not panic. But that's the issue. Desire isn't about peace. It's about power, attraction, genes, and strategy, all beneath your awareness. So when you say, I can't help who I want, you're right, but that's not beautiful, that's terrifying, because a life led by unfiltered desire is a life ruled by invisible masters. And those masters don't care about your future, only your reproduction, only your cravings. Look deeper. Why do you always want the wrong ones? Why does love feel like war? Why do you sabotage the ones who care? Because the system was never designed for healthy, it was designed for survival. And sometimes, survival means chasing what feels powerful, not what feels right. You desire strength, not kindness, looks, not loyalty, thrill, not safety. That's not judgment, that's biology. But if you never question that biology, it becomes your destiny. You don't rise by indulging desire, you rise by interrogating it. Every time you say, I can't stop thinking about them, the question is it real? Or just a reaction? Most people never ask. They just follow the craving and then wonder why they end up broken. Because when you let desire lead, you sacrifice sovereignty. You become a servant to a script you didn't write. But when you step back, when you observe without reacting, you begin to see clearly. Desire is loud, truth is quiet, and in that silence you find your power again, because until you see that desire isn't always aligned with your truth, you will keep chasing chaos and calling it love. And that's why the freedom you think you have isn't freedom at all. Desire manipulates, but passion deceives, because it feels like fire, but fire burns both the builder and the fool. You thought the chaos meant it was real. You thought the sparks meant it was fate. You thought the pain was proof of depth. It wasn't. Passion is not proof, it's just pressure. Biological pressure, emotional pressure, ego pressure. You didn't fall in love, you fell into stimulation. And stimulation doesn't mean it's sacred. It just means your nervous system is having a reaction you mistake for connection. You said it was meant to be, but what if it was just meant to distract? Because passion can be a prison with gold bars. You'll stay locked in it, calling it purpose, calling it destiny, calling it depth. But in reality, you're just addicted to intensity. Intensity isn't intimacy. Obsession isn't love, and adrenaline isn't alignment. We confuse the rush with the reason. We say they make me feel alive. But ask yourself, do they make you grow? Or just feel everything louder? Because if it's not growth, it's not purpose. It's just stimulus. And stimulus fades. The faster it burns, the quicker it dies. And what's left after passion? Silence, confusion, regret. You gave your life to a feeling, not a foundation. Purpose is what remains when passion leaves. But most never make it that far. Because they built nothing beyond the chemistry. They never asked, can I build with this person? Can I think around them? Can I become more? They just asked, can I feel more? And feelings are fickle. Feelings are fragile, feelings lie. Passion without purpose is just emotional entertainment. It keeps you distracted, busy, occupied, but never aligned. You say you're in love, but your goals are decaying. Your focus is gone, your peace is shattered. That's not love, that's self-abandonment disguised as romance. You stopped building your life just to become a character in theirs, and now you don't know who you are without them. Because passion made you forget yourself. It told you they were everything. It told you they were the mission. It told you they were your why. But no person is your purpose. You are. They can walk with you. They can amplify you. But they cannot become your reason to breathe. Because the moment you attach your entire identity to another person, you lose your power. And without power, you'll cling to the highs just to survive the lows. You don't need someone to ignite you. You need something to anchor you. And that's the difference between passion and purpose. Passion says, don't think, just feel. Purpose says, feel but also choose. Passion is fire, purpose is fuel. One burns fast, the other lasts. You thought passion was love, but it was just emotional caffeine. It gave you energy, but not direction. It made your heart race, but your soul stood still. And this is how most people live, chasing highs, avoiding truth, worshipping connection, neglecting creation. If your love isn't making you more disciplined, more focused, more aligned, then it's not love. It's just distraction dressed as devotion. And you can't build a life on that. You can't raise a future on chaos. You can't birth legacy from lust. You can't find yourself in someone else's storm. Purpose is quiet. It's steady. It doesn't thrill you, it grounds you. It doesn't just make you feel good. It makes you better. But to get there, you have to break the addiction to emotional chaos. You have to detox from drama. You have to ask, is this love helping me become who I was meant to be? If the answer is no, then no matter how intense it feels, it's not your path. It's your prison. Don't chase passion, channel it. Turn it into action, into discipline, into legacy. Because the one who wins at life isn't the one who feels the most. It's the one who knows the difference between fire that warms and fire that consumes. Passion without purpose makes you chaotic, but emotion without control makes you weak. Because if your feelings are in charge, your destiny isn't yours. You fell in love, you got lost in the rush. You let desire turn the wheel, and you crashed into the same wall again. Why? Because you thought feeling deeply was strength. It's not. Feeling clearly is. Emotion is not the enemy, lack of control is. You think love should break you. You think obsession proves it's real. You think pain is part of the process. It's not. Suffering is not a love language. It's just the tax you pay when you refuse to lead yourself. And if you don't lead your emotions, they'll lead you into people, patterns, and places that destroy you. You called it vulnerability, but what it really was exposure without protection. You handed your heart to chaos and prayed it would give you peace. But peace isn't found in surrendering to emotion, it's found in commanding it. You want to feel love, learn how to survive without it, because only when you stop needing it are you finally able to see it clearly. Emotion isn't bad, but it's not built to steer, it's built to signal, to alert you, to move you, not own you. If you act on every emotional impulse, you're not choosing, you're reacting. You're no longer human. You're an algorithm in skin. You don't love, you chase, you don't care, you cling, you don't grow, you cycle. And that's what happens when you mistake intensity for identity. You let emotions write your story instead of editing them with awareness. Emotions are messengers, not masters. Let them speak, but don't let them decide. You can't build a powerful life with a heart that panics at silence. You can't construct anything lasting if you fall apart every time they pull away. Mastery begins the moment you pause between the trigger and the response. Someone leaves, pause, they ghost you, pause, you feel rejected, pause, because that pause is your power. That pause is your path out of emotional slavery. That pause is your proof that you're not an animal, you're a leader of your own inner world. You don't need to yell. You don't need to chase. You don't need to beg. The stronger you are inside, the quieter your outside reactions become. Not because you don't care, but because you care about the right things now, your peace, your path, your purpose. Emotions still come, but they don't control the wheel anymore. They ride in the backseat while purpose drives. And when purpose drives, you don't get lost in people anymore, you get loyal to your mission. You still feel, but your feelings are now aligned with vision. You still love, but you love with discipline, with self-respect, with clarity. You don't give your whole soul to people who haven't even earned your presence. Because when you master emotion, you protect yourself from emotional manipulation. You stop confusing anxiety for love. You stop mistaking abandonment for chemistry. You start choosing partners not based on how high they make you feel, but on how solid you remain beside them. Real love isn't a storm, it's structure. And only someone who's mastered themselves can build something that doesn't collapse under pressure. You want to be powerful, stop reacting to everything. You want to be free, stop needing everything to be intense. You want real connection, then control your emotion so you don't mistake chaos for chemistry again. Because the strongest man in the room isn't the loudest. It's the one who can feel everything and still choose the right response. The strongest woman in the room isn't the one who gives it all away in the name of love. It's the one who feels deeply but gives wisely. Emotion is a gift, but without mastery it becomes your leash. And life is too short to live leashed to feelings that betray you. So you decide, will you keep drowning in waves you never learned to surf? Or will you finally rise above the flood and become the one who doesn't just feel, but leads? Mastery over emotion isn't the end goal, it's the foundation, because once you stop chasing feelings you start building meaning. You've chased love, you've chased connection, you've chased people who didn't see you, didn't choose you, didn't match you, and for what? For a moment of belonging that cost you years of direction. But now you've seen through the game, the biology, the illusions, the dopamine, the fantasies dressed in red flags. And that means one thing, you're done chasing, done romanticizing pain, done begging to be seen, done handing your crown to people who don't even value their own reflection. Because here's the truth, chasing is for the lost, building is for the chosen. And you weren't made to orbit around someone else's gravity. You were made to create your own. Every hour you spent obsessing over them could have been bricks laid on your legacy. Every text you rewrote, every call you waited for, every plan you delayed hoping they'd show up, all of it was energy stolen from your becoming. They weren't your destiny, they were the distraction before it. And now you've learned, chasing is a sign you've forgotten your worth. Because kings don't chase, queens don't beg, builders don't pause their blueprints for breadcrumbs. You think you want them, but what you really want is the version of yourself you lost trying to impress them. And that version, the focused one, the hungry one, the one with standards, they're still in you, waiting for you to stop chasing people and start chasing vision. Because people don't complete you, purpose does. Love doesn't make you whole. Work, growth, direction, that's where you become unshakable. You weren't born to be liked. You were born to leave impact. You weren't born to fall. You were born to forge. While they were busy falling in love, you were busy rising into power. And that's the difference between those who chase validation and those who build empires. Let them play games. Let them flirt, disappear, return, and confuse. Let them entertain drama. You're not available for confusion anymore. You're busy building. Real love doesn't distract, it aligns. If it's meant for you, it won't pull you off your path. It'll push you further on it. But until that arrives, you stay focused. You stay working. You stay locked in. Chasing is loud. Building is quiet. That's why most miss it. They can't sit still long enough to lay foundations. They're addicted to noise, chaos, movement. But you're done with noise. You're building something solid. They won't understand why you disappeared, why you stopped replying, why you stopped checking. It's because you finally understood your value. And your value isn't in who chooses you. It's in what you create. You create strength. You create habits. You create discipline, legacy, peace. The old you wanted love. The new you wants freedom. Freedom from emotional debt. Freedom from empty promises. Freedom from chasing ghosts. You don't need another almost. You don't need another what if. You don't need another late night overthinking session about someone who never saw you. You need vision. You need goals. You need silence and a plan and some damn consistency. Because this season isn't about romance. It's about reignition, rebuilding your routine, sharpening your focus, getting obsessed with your grind again. The throne doesn't care about your heartbreak. It cares about your discipline. And that's the beautiful part. When you build, you heal. When you build, you rise. When you build, you forget their name and remember your own. They can keep chasing butterflies. You're building the garden. Because when you build, what's meant for you finds you, but you're no longer waiting for it. And when it does arrive, you won't fall. You won't lose yourself. You won't shrink. You'll stand already whole, already focused, already home within yourself.